Excuse me. You could have at least left me a spot.
Sorry, hon. Don't want to get any scratches on her. And by the way, nice van.
What a...
Don't be that guy.
Bananas are my favorite fruit. Hashtag strawberry banana smoothie.
Actually, the banana is not classified as a fruit.
What?
It is an herb. This is because bananas do not grow on trees, but on plants because it never forms a woody stem like a tree does. Rather, it forms a succulent stalk. There's a small shoot from the underground rhizome called quarm. Also, the banana is not related to palms as most people think. So enjoy your herb smoothie.
What the heck?
Don't be that guy.
Hey, we're glad you guys are here with us this morning at Kensington. I'd love to actually invite you to stand and join us in this song. I was buried beneath my shame. Who could carry the kind of weight? It was my tomb till I made. Come on, let's put our hands together. I was breathing, but not alive.
That is a great way to kick off your afternoon, right? It's a great way to kick off my afternoon. Good afternoon, Kensington. How you guys going today? Yeah, good. My name is Michael Bouchard. I'm the Student Ministries Director here at the Orion campus. Hey, guys. How are you? Good. All right, so a couple of things. First of all, if you're new here, we have something for you out at the hub. It's a table outside. There's some cool TVs that say hub, and underneath it, there's cooler people who are there waiting to hang with you. So stop by there before you leave today. Let them know who you are. Let them tell you a little bit about us and answer your questions. And if you've been here for a while and you still don't know much about us, well, that's also a great place to start and get your questions answered and get plugged in. So I got this cool thing on today because it says wild. You know what it means? It's our wild retreat. Anybody know what that is? No? Some of you do. Anybody go into that this weekend? Okay. There we go. There's one. Okay, great. So Wild Retreat, it is our retreat for middle schoolers and high schoolers. And hands down, it is one of the greatest experiences you could ever give one of your students. To send them up to Spring Hill. So what we do is we rent out Spring Hill camps up in Everett, Michigan. Now, we go all throughout the year. We have the women's retreat. We have the Rock Your Family. We have Man Up a couple weeks ago, 4th and 5th grades in a couple of weeks. But this weekend is just for middle schoolers and high schoolers. We partner up with the other campuses that Kensington has, and we rent out the whole place, and it's overrun with your students, and it is geared just toward them. So if you want to give your student anything to help set off their school year in a great way, it would be by sending them to the Wild Retreat. Now, if there's middle schoolers and high schoolers in here and you're nervous, or you're like, man, I don't know, I'm not going to know anybody, I just want you to know, in my years of being here, which I've been here a long time, in my years of being here, every student who goes, whether or not they know anybody, they come back with two things. Number one, they come back with life change. There is something that alters inside of us when we take time away and meet with God in a brand new place. But the second thing that happens is every student that goes comes back with their new best friends. Like, you go and you will meet people. So if you're nervous, well, guess what? You won't be alone. There's a lot of other nervous people too. Or you could always bring your friends with you, and then you've got your group with you. So make sure you sign up by Tuesday. Tuesday at midnight is our deadline for online signups. So don't delay. Make sure you guys set it up to do that. Now I'd like to bring up some friends of mine. Let's give it up for our interns. These are our Kensington interns. So here at Kensington, we believe in the next generation, and not just the next generation age-wise, but the next generation of leaders and the next wave of leaders. So every year we have our internship program, and we have a slew of fantastic people who jump on board. And so here are 4 of our 5, and we're going to let them introduce themselves in a minute. But I want to say these people are amazing. I only work with them for 2 months now, and all together as a staff, we've been pouring into them. But really what they've been doing is they've been investing in you, in your students, in your families, in lots of different ways. So could you guys tell them who you are?
Hi, I'm Nathan. I'm a worship arts intern.
I'm Carly, and I'm a production intern.
I'm Marissa, and I'm an 1829 intern.
I'm Jacob, and I'm also an 1829 intern.
And we also have one that's not here today. Her name's Carrie Johnson. She actually was out helping to run Hope Water Project down at the marathon in Detroit, which is pretty sweet. So make sure you meet these people, look for their shirts, and throughout this school year, take them out for coffee or dinner or something. Invite them over, cook them a meal. They'll really appreciate it because interns don't get paid anything. So they would love that. But what we want you to do now is stand up, turn to the person next to you, and tell them what your favorite Michael Jackson song is.
Gonna make a change for once in my life. It's gonna feel real good. Gonna make a difference gonna make it right. As I turn up the collar on my favorite winter coat, this wind is blowing my mind. I see the kids in the street, but not enough to eat. Who am I to be blind, pretending that they're not in weed? A farmer's disregard, a broken bottle top, and a one-man store. They follow each other on the wind, you know, 'cause they got nowhere to go. That's why I want you to know. And I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. And no message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and then make the change. Victim of a selfish kind of love. It's time that I realize that there are some with no home and not a nickel to loan. Could it be really me pretending that they're not alone? A willow deeply scarred, somebody's broken heart, and a washed out dream. They follow the pattern of the wind, 'cause they got no place to be. That's why I'm starting with me. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. No message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and then make a change. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. No message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. And no message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself, then make a change. You gotta get it right while you got the time. 'Cause if you close your eyes, then you close your mind. With the man in the mirror, oh yeah. Asking him to change his ways. No message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself, then make that change. And then na 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 na. Na 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 na.
I can't do it. Woo! That's all I got right there. That's all I got. But I got the glove. And since this is the last service, I'm auctioning this off. I'll start at 10,000. Anybody? Anybody? Okay, how many love that song, Michael Jackson? I mean, that's one of those classic Jackson songs. Should I preach with this on? What do you think? No? Yeah. You know what? Yeah, thanks, John. I was going to say, you're the first service I've asked that this third time. You're the first service said yes. They all said no, don't do that. But Reagan said, you got to wear this glove. And I'm like, how are you going to get a glove? He goes, there's this thing called the internet, and they deliver stuff to your house. It's unbelievable. Anyway, I can remember sitting, I was in California at the time going to grad school when Michael Jackson did that. Oh, man, I wish I could do it. That moonwalk, anybody do it? You could do it? All right, look at his mom saying, don't get him up here. in that song. And I didn't even know till recently he didn't write that. A woman did. Garrett wrote that, and he loved it so much. It's like, what a great message in that chorus. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. It's perfect for this weekend. This is the third and final week of the Don't Be That Guy series, or Don't Be That Gal series, which is all about hypocrisy. Don't be that person that doesn't live the life they say they're living. It's a fake. And this one's like, okay, if you're going to change, where's it start? With me. Make the change, right? Na 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 na. I mean, we're all saying, I'm watching you singing every line, and yet it's a powerful lyric. I think that's why Michael got it and said, man, I got to take her song and take it to the world, because it starts right here. And so it's interesting as we talk. Seriously, interns, you got to do all 3 services. You got to listen to me 3 times. I feel so sorry for you. That's way beyond your pay grade. They could probably get up here and give this message. They've heard it twice now. But the truth is, we've been talking about this hypocrisy thing, which week 1 we learned that a hypocrite wears a mask. It's like we pretend to be somebody we're really not. And everybody hates that guy. We don't like that guy, right? And the bad rap is this. The church gets the rap that, people say in their studies that research has said people don't go to church anymore because it's just a bunch of hypocrites. Well, guess what? That's true. And it's true outside of church as well. Everybody lives somewhat of a double life in some ways. And so it's like, okay, how can I go from being that guy or that gal that people don't want to follow, that don't want to live a life like, to a guy or gal that is the guy that people want to follow? How's that happen? Well, it happens when you start by looking in the mirror. That's what we're going to talk about today. But it's interesting. It's so easy. I've done this. I'm sure you've done this. To see that guy, that hypocrite, and not realize that people sometimes look at you the same way. You ever notice that? It's like it's really easy for us to see hypocrites in other people and not always see it in ourselves. We had a staff meeting with all of our campuses and all of our staff at Clinton Township back in the spring. They had just opened their building. We're going to have it all staff there. So I was late, so I'm literally whipping down M59 and then Hall Road through Lakeside. I'm talking about all the construction. And I'm late, so I'm whipping around, and I'm the guy in the left lane where the left lane's for us fast people. Get out of the way. Anybody like me? Everybody else is an idiot except you, right? You're the perfect driver. Everybody else is. So I'm like, so I'm cutting in here and I'm cutting over here because I'm late. And, since I'm late, I'm allowed to do that. So it's all these things go through. And so right when I got to Clinton Township, I hadn't been there in a while, and I didn't realize it's right there. So I whip over in the right turn in real quick. And I walk in like, I made it. And as I'm walking in the lobby, all these staff are there, a couple hundred staff, and I hear a couple staff literally standing right beside me. And one of our staff ladies goes, oh my gosh, I almost got killed getting in here. Some bald dude in a black car cut right in front of me, right in front of this building. I almost hit him. I'm like, I mean, I never said that was me, but I was like, I was that guy. You always see that guy or that gal and somebody else, and I was that guy. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm the guy complaining about everybody else driving, and I was the idiot that almost cut him off. Now, here's the thing. Today is about this. Let's not be that guy ever again, right? We're going to finish this series like, how can we be? I wrote it down this way. This is sort of the idea. How can we become the guy or the gal? So you notice I'm not saying that anymore. It's the. I want you and me to be the guy, the gal that people want to follow. Because here's the thing. Wherever it's going to come up. If you and I live out, the theme of today is one word, integrity. If you and I live out a life of integrity, trust me, and I know you already know this, people want to follow people that are people of integrity. Now, let me ask you something. I've said this over the years. One of the things I found out years ago when I was studying this word integrity, it actually comes from the root word, which is a math term, integer. You know an integer? Okay, let's find out who passed math in high school. What's an integer? Somebody tell me, what kind of number is an integer? It's a whole number. You've been in all the services, They're going to get everything right. Boy, that was really amazing. But yeah, it's a whole number as compared to a fraction, which is a part number. It's like, it's a fraction. So think about what this means. A person of integrity is whole. What's that mean? Here's the best way I can explain it. We used to have a coach with the Detroit Lions the first year I was with the team. That was 33 seasons ago. 33 seasons I was with the Lions. This is my first season I'm not with the Lions. If I was, I'd be on the sideline right now in Miami. So for 33 seasons I was there. And by the way, some of you know this. You know how many playoff games we won in my incredible tenure with the Lions? One. Do you know that I'm the losingest chaplain in the history of the NFL? Somebody sent me my record the other day. I was like 215 and 320 losses in 33 seasons. And if they win the Super Bowl this year, I'll be so mad. But anyway, but there was a coach in 1985 when we were at the Silverdome with Darryl Rogers was our head coach. We had a special teams coach named Frank Gans. And I'll never forget Frank's sort of visual of what integrity is. He would always say to the special teams, and actually the whole locker room, and I saw him do this many times, he would say this. He'd go, what a man says, what a man does should match up. He did that all the time. What a man says, what a man does, match up. And then he'd say something like this. If you say you got the A gap, you better have the A gap, because if you don't have the A gap, this guy, he goes, you got the A gap, he's got the B gap, now we can win football games. But if you, and I'm sitting there in the back of the locker room going, that's not just football stuff. If you say, I'm making a promise to you, I'm making a vow to you. It could be a big one like a wedding vow, or it could be a little one like the meeting's at 8, I'll be there at 7:55. Is what you say and what you do matching up, or is it just words? Let me tell you something. If you ever say, I'll be there on time, and people just sort of roll your eyes, let me tell you what they're telling you. They don't trust your word. That's a gap between a person who's not whole. They're a fraction of a person. A whole person is a man or woman of integrity. Their words and their life are the same. Their walk and their talk are the same. In fact, I've made my own little definition of integrity, and it's just simply this. Integrity equals no gaps. That's it. You can write it down. I want you to write down stuff so you remember the stuff. Tweet that baby out, whatever you want. Integrity equals no gaps. And you're sitting there like, I don't know what it means. Yeah, you do. No gaps between what? What you say and what you do. There's no gap. It's the same thing. You can count on my word. You can count on what I've said to you. I said I'd be there. I'll be there. How do I know? There's a consistent track record. Every time he says he does. Now, I'm not saying that you couldn't get stuck in traffic, and there are times, that those things don't happen, but pretty consistently, man, it's what this woman says is what she does. This man says is what he does. There's no gap between what they say and do. So integrity is that simple for me. No gaps. Or you want a math equation since the word comes from the word integer? Here's a math equation. See if you can figure this one out. T plus W equals I. Somebody tell me what that means. You already know. You're smart. T is what? Talk plus walk equals integrity. It's that simple. Our talk matches our walk. Our behavior matches our beliefs. All that stuff. Let me tell you something. You know this. What is the world looking for? You're looking for it. We're all looking for it. We're looking for men and women of character. What's that mean? Integrity. We can trust what they say. We can watch their life, and it matches up to their beliefs. And let me tell you, and you already know this, if you are a person of integrity, or you know a person of integrity, people follow those people. They do not follow people that lack integrity. We live in a world of low integrity. Am I right? I mean, today, I'm old enough to know this, and some of you are close to my age. It's like I lived in a day, which is crazy, that contracts weren't even signed. You could make deals with people with a handshake. You know why? Because the word could be trusted. He shook my hand. He looked me in the eye. He said he'd pay me this for this. It's going to happen. He said he'd be there. It's going to happen. Again, I'm not saying people were perfect, but your word was your bond. Now today we're like, no. Put that in writing. And I need 10 lawyers to look at it. I can make sure there's no loopholes in this thing because I've been screwed many times and I've got cheated by people, blah, blah, blah. I am never going to do anything without. I'm on Craigslist, and I sell motorcycles and buy motorcycles, guitars, that kind of stuff. It's so interesting. Like, can I trust you? Like, yeah, you can trust me. Why do you say that? I'm a pastor. That's not. Seriously, you can't even say that now. You can't trust pro athletes. You can't trust people in ministry. You can't trust business leaders. You can't trust teachers. Is there any category that we haven't been let down? Like, oh my gosh, we thought this was true, and then we find out our world is looking for men and women, boys and girls of integrity. Am I right? It is like a rare character trait that shouldn't be rare, and it is. It's interesting. I didn't even put it in my notes when I was building this talk in the last several weeks, but it hit me the first service when I was standing here. That one of the reasons I'm standing here as one of the leaders of a church that I helped start there almost 30 years ago is because of a man who I never knew at the time, but he came in and spoke at my seminary for 1 week. He was a pastor in Chicago at the time, just started a church that was booming in the suburbs of Chicago. And our president brought him in to help us as young men and women know how to start and lead churches, and his name was Bill Hybels. And he got up and spoke the first day of the second week of my first month in seminary. And basically, he shared the story of how God had called him and a team of people to start a church for unchurched men. It wasn't a church for church people. It was a church that would reach people that don't go to church. And he walked through the whole thing. I'm telling you, I could take you to the classroom and say, that chair right there, that's where God called me to do what I'm doing. Right there. I was sitting there. Bill Hybels told that thing, and I'm like, that's what I was made to do. I literally came home. Ann was at home. I came home. We had no kids at the time. I go, honey, I know what we're made to do. And she's like, what? What are we doing? I'm like, we're going to be a part of a church wherever God sent us that's going to reach unchurched men. That's what we're going to do. This guy shared this thing today. God spoke to me. I know what we're going to do. And some of you know, Bill Hybels, who led Willow Creek for almost 40 years, probably 3 or 4 months ago. In fact, I was right here at our Christmas Eve rehearsal. And I just walked off the stage, and a friend texted me and said, read this. And it was the findings about Bill Hybels' sexual indiscretions with women in his church. And he denied it, and I'm not going to get into it all, but eventually it found out it was true. And his elders all resigned because they defended him, and then they felt like they lost their integrity. They all resigned. They put people in charge of the church going forward because Bill had to resign, and they resigned. I mean, Willow right now, a church of 20, 30,000 people, is like in chaos. And it's all because we found out what a man said and what a man did was not really true. And actually, as I studied this a little bit and finding out about Bill's life, because I was crushed. In a lot of ways, I'm here because of his influence in my life, and I was crushed. And as I dug a little more, I'm like, oh my gosh, the day he stood in front of our class in 1982, he was involved with another woman that wasn't his wife. Then. And I hit it all the time. And yet God can work and God can forgive, and who knows what God's going to do with that, but it's like, oh my gosh, I was just reminded how important integrity is. It's everything. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's everything. I've said all morning, if you have integrity, it's all that matters. And if you don't have integrity, it's all that matters. Of all the character traits that matter, this is probably the foundational one. If you can't trust a man or woman's word, what can you trust? It's all gone. And here's another thought that's really interesting, and I know you know this. You know where integrity is built? In secret. Everybody's got integrity on a stage. Everybody's got integrity in a business boardroom. Everybody says they have it, but where's it built when no one's looking? When you're in a hotel room and nobody's there, what are you doing? When you open your computer screen and you can go to any website you want thinking nobody will ever find out, newsflash, they will find out. But you think they won't, what's going on? When you're in a restaurant in a city and nobody knows you, are you doing the right things? Are you keeping your vows? Are you keeping your promises? Not just to your children and your wife or your kids or your husband, but to your church and to your Lord. I mean, that's where integrity is built. It's like this incredible, incredible thing. And here's the amazing thing. When you get down to it, I said this earlier, everybody struggles with integrity at some level. Nobody's perfect. There's only been one perfect person in the history of the world, and his name is Jesus. There was no lack of integrity with him. But every one of us, at some point, we struggle. Church people, non-church people, it's everywhere. You can blame church people, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. Lack of integrity. In fact, I didn't know if this was true, but I mean, years ago, I saw this letter that a guy wrote to the IRS, and I searched around this last couple of weeks. I said, is this like a made-up thing? And as far as I can tell, this actually happened in 1963, I think it was. The IRS got this letter from a guy that said, this check for $1,150 is because I cheated on my taxes last year, and I have not been able to sleep ever since. Signed, Tom. And then there's this PS that says, if I still can't sleep, I'll send you the rest of the money. It's like, are you kidding me? You know, it's like, it looks like a integrity in it. Oh, no, it isn't. It was funny. My oldest son, CJ, and his wife, Robin, lived down in Detroit. And I can remember when CJ was like 4 or 5, maybe 6 years old. I caught him in a lie. Parents, that ever happen? If it hasn't, it will. Oh, my kids are perfect. Yeah, whatever. And so, they aren't. And so I remember I walked in and he had something, he stuffed it under the couch or something. And I'm like, CJ, that was you? No, I didn't. No, I didn't. He's just looking right at me lying. I'm like, dude, I just saw you. And I said to him, just tell me the truth and then we can move on. He goes, Dad, I am not lying. I did not do that. I go, yes, you are. I saw you. Just tell me the truth. And he looks at me, 6 years old. He goes, hey, Dad, do you really think I would lie to you? He said that, 6 years old. And now, parents, what do you say? I said, yeah, I do. And he's like, why? Why do you think I would lie to you? And I said, because your mom lies all the time. I mean, I'm kidding. But, because everybody at some point, there's a lack between what we say and what we do. And when your son asks you that, it's like, yeah, everybody at some point has a lack of integrity. It's actually sort of scary. I don't know if you'll believe this. This is crazy, but one of the most well-known stories about not lying in American history is about our first president, George Washington, right? It's the story of he did not what? Chop down the cherry tree, right? Do you know that Parson Weems, who wrote the biography on George Washington's life, said that story was made up? It's not true. What? So the greatest known story in American history on not lying is a lie. Then that's sort of like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? It's like, what can you trust? I read this story about a woman who was sort of tailgating this guy and was really close on his bumper, and a light changed, and she thought he was going to go through it, but he slammed on his brakes and stopped at this light. And so she almost hit him, and she stopped, and she was pretty mad that he didn't run through because it wasn't even yellow yet. So she starts yelling, gesturing, honking the horn, the whole thing, and all of a sudden there's a knock on her driver's side window, and she looks, and there's a policeman. And he asks her to get out of the car. He puts her in the police car and takes her to the police squad, puts her in a jail cell for about an hour. Then he pulls her out and he goes, ma'am, I'm sorry. It was mistaken identity. And I wrote down, this is in John Ortberg's book, here's exactly what the policeman said. He said, I pulled up behind your car while you were blowing your horn, using bad gestures and bad language. I noticed the what would Jesus do bumper sticker, the choose life license plate holder, the follow me to Sunday school window sign, the Christian fish emblem on your trunk, and I naturally assumed you had stolen the car. So, I mean, it's one of these pretty funny stories that we're all laughing at, but it's like, oh boy, she got caught. Looked like this, but, probably a mistaken identity. But here's the interesting, John Ortberg says in this book, I want to read it to you, because I think he takes this funny story and then he goes, let me be real. And he says, the world gets pretty tired of people who have Christian bumper stickers on their cars, Christian fish signs on their trunks, Christian books on their shelves, Christian stations on their radio, Christian jewelry around their necks, Christian videos for their kids, and Christian magazines for their coffee tables. But listen to this, but don't actually have the life of Jesus in their bones or the love of Jesus in their hearts. Is he right? Oh, yeah. He is right. It just got real quiet in here because we've all lived there at some point. Think about this. If you and I claim to be followers of Christ, and I'm hoping there's some unchurched men and women that are here and say, I'm not there yet. Great. That's why come. Just keep coming. Keep going on this journey. We hope that you become a follower of Christ. But if you're not, you'll know I'm going to say what you think. If we call ourselves followers of Christ, what do you think people that know that expect? They expect a higher bar. Wait a minute, shouldn't the God that you say you love make a difference? Shouldn't you have more integrity than people that don't claim to really care? Yeah. If your neighbors watched you this morning get into your car and drive to probably church, and they've probably seen you do that regularly, which is sort of interesting these days, regular church attenders go to church 1.7 times a month. Wow. That means sometimes they're streaming. There's people streaming. Where's the camera? Right now? How you doing? Come join us. And sometimes they can, sometimes they can't, sometimes they're on vacation. It's awesome they're streaming, but people actually come to this building less than 2 times a month are regular attenders. But here's all I know. Your neighbors see you. Trust me, you don't think they do? They do. People in your workplace, people at school, they know that you do this thing on Sundays, go to church. And I guarantee you they're watching you like a hawk to see if that bumper sticker or that going to church thing is just a thing you say or a thing you do. And let me tell you something. When you and I live it out, they will follow you here. When we don't, they're like, whatever, dude. Go do your little church thing. It ain't making no difference in your life than it is in my boss's life. You're all just like us. But when they see the real deal, that our walk matches our talk, and again, not perfectly, but consistently, trust me, we become the guy, the gal that people want to follow. So the question is, so how do we do that? I'll take you to the Word of God. You look in the book of Proverbs. The writer Solomon says this: the integrity of the upright guides them, but the unfaithful are destroyed by their duplicity. What a word, duplicity. What's it mean? Double life. It says the integrity, what? The wholeness of the upright does what? It guides what? Every decision they make during the day. Think about the words he uses there. It guides us. It's the path we walk on. What's that mean? That means a person that has integrity is wrestling every single day with every single decision, asking what? What's right in this situation? What's right in this business deal? What's right in this relationship? Not what's going to feel good, what's going to get me what I want. What is right? That's integrity. And so that the upright are guided by that. They walk into a meeting and it's like, oh, this is a little shady here. I could do this, and it probably advanced me here, but it's wrong. What does the upright do? I'm not going to do this. It's not about my career. It's about my character. I'm going to make the right decision. It may be a bad decision for my career, but it's the right decision. That's integrity. And let me tell you, bosses that have people that make right decisions promote those people eventually. Because they want people leading companies that can be trusted, not just people who are talented or skilled, right? And that's what that verse is all about. Here's another one in Proverbs. He says, whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but whoever takes crooked paths will be found out. Think about that one. Whoever walks in integrity walks secure. What's that mean? You're not like looking like somebody catch you? You know, I was a little shady on this thing. What are you going to find out? No, you're secure. It's like I'm confident, not arrogant, but confident. Like I'm doing the right thing. I have nothing to be afraid of. But those, look at this, who take crooked paths, go the wrong way, do the wrong thing, nobody will ever find out, right? Nobody will ever find out, will eventually be found out. You probably know this, but you know who else said that very same thing in the New Testament? Jesus. He said, what you do in the dark will one day come out in the light. It may be tomorrow, it may be 40 years from now, but people will find out about whatever we do that's a lack of integrity. It will catch you. So if that's not a motivation, I don't know what it is, but that isn't the primary motivation, but it's just wisdom to say, okay, how are we going to live this out? You know, it's interesting. You go to New Testament, you look at a book called the Book of James, and some of you know this. Guess who wrote the Book of James? Take a guess. James. You know who James was? I love this guy. He was the brother of Jesus. So think about this. You got to put yourself in his life. He walked every day with his brother saying, I'm the Son of God. He's like, yes, sir, you are. You're my brother. You're not the Son of God. Even though I've never seen you sin, I still don't believe you're the Son of God. He was a skeptic his whole life. You got to love this guy. People are like, everybody in the Bible, I can't relate to you. You can relate to James. Because he said the same questions you have about Jesus being the Son of God. Well, what would convince you if you're a brother that your brother was the Son of God? Maybe that he would raise from the dead, even predicting it and then doing it. Well, Jesus rose from the dead and James became a believer. That would convince most people. You know, we tend to believe people that say they're going to die, then die, and raise themselves from the dead. We're like, well, listen to whatever you say. And James becomes a believer, a leader of the early church. Now, listen to what he said. His book is so practical. I love James because it's just so practical. And at the end of the book, he says, but above all, my brothers, do not swear. Now, he's not talking about cursing. He says, do not swear by either heaven or by earth or by any other oath. He's saying this. You can write it down in the contract. It doesn't mean as much as what? Let your yes be yes and your no be no, so that you may not fall under condemnation. Parents, I bet you've said this to your kids. Let your yes be yes. If you're going to be there, say you'll be there and show up. If you're not going to be there, say you're not going to be there and don't show up. But don't waffle. That's a lack of integrity, right? Parents, you've said that to your kids. I'm going to talk to your kids tonight at Edge. I get to speak tonight to the high school group at Edge. And I'm going to talk to your kids. And you're like, oh, good. You can go tell them all that stuff. Here's what I'm going to tell you, parents. If you're not living it, you can say all you want. If you're not living it, you can say all you want, because they're not going to go where you point. They're going to go where you walk. You hear me? You know this. I know this as a parent. And as a leader, it's like, man, you can say all you want, but if you're not living it, people don't go the way you say or the way you point. They follow the way you go. So if you're saying to your kids, or you're saying to people at work, or saying to people at school, let your yes be yes, your no be no. I can never trust what you say. Well, you better look in the mirror and say, can they trust what I say? Is my yes, yes? Is my no, no? And if not, why not? It's so important. I've said it already. If you have integrity, it's all that matters. If you don't have integrity, it's all that matters. You know, almost 30 years ago, I got a call from Family Life Ministries, which is out of Little Rock, Arkansas. Ann and I had gone to their conference called Weekend to Remember. In fact, some of you went to the Weekend to Remember last year at the Ren Center in Detroit. How many people went? We had 400 some couples from Detroit go to that thing. There's 1,000 there. And Ann and I spoke for that. Well, this is, and by the way, there's another one this November, November 9th, Friday through Sunday the 11th. Weekend to Remember, sign up, go to weekendremember.com, familylife.com, sign up. I'm not kidding, it's going to be a great weekend. Ann and I are actually speaking at a different Weekend to Remember that weekend in Estes Park, but it's the same conference with incredible speakers. So anyway, here's the deal. 30-some years ago, we got a call from the assistant to the president, Dennis Rainey, saying they would like to interview us to be potential speakers for their Weekend to Remember. Trust me, to us, that was like the NFL. Like, whoa, us? Speak for that conference? It's unbelievable privilege to even have the opportunity. Well, Dennis Rainey's never met us, but we're going to fly down to Little Rock. Some of you have heard this story, and do an interview with him, and he'll say yes or no. And he's just basically interviewing us on recommendations from other people. So we're flying down to Little Rock, and Ann and I are literally role-playing the interview. Because it's like, we got to pass this thing. So he may ask this, what are you going to say? He may ask this, what are you going to say? We did like 100 questions, so we're ready, right? We go in, we do a big tour of the headquarters, and then we end up in his office. And I'm not kidding. Big desk. We're sitting there. Dennis walks in. He's like like a man I love to follow. And he sits down, and he goes like this. He goes, hey, just got one question. And we look at each other like, oh, no. It's pass-fail. It's one question, and I don't know if we can practice this one, So we're literally like butterflies. And I'm like, oh, but we're real cool. Yeah, okay, Dennis, yeah, what's the question? And some of you have heard me say this. Tell me your name. Corey. I know Corey. I know your name. I just didn't remember. So I'm going to look at Corey in the eye and do exactly what Dennis Rainey did, because I was about that far away, except he was sitting at a desk. And he looks at me like this, and he goes, are you clean? Didn't do this with his hands. He just goes, are you clean? Now, I'm not asking you, but I want you to feel as uncomfortable as I did. Because he never took his eyes off my eyes. He just stared, and sitting right there, and he goes, are you clean? Now, I knew in one word, even though Dennis and I had never had this conversation, I knew what clean meant. I knew it meant sexually. I knew it meant morally. I knew it meant as a man of God. Do you have integrity? I knew all that was in one word. Are you clean? And so I look back and I go, yeah, Dennis, I'm clean. Then he looks at Ann, he goes, you tell me the truth? And she goes, yeah. And he goes, okay, you're in. It was just like that. I mean, I've talked to him many times about that since then. He goes, that's what I did? I go, yeah. He goes, yeah, you're in. I go, do you remember what I said? He goes, no. I go, I literally said, well, are we good enough? You listen to our cassette tapes. They sent sermons down of us on cassette tapes. Tell you how old that was. And he listened to it. I said, are we good enough? And he goes, yeah, you're okay. That's what he said. And I sort of looked at him almost perplexed, and he goes, let me tell you something. I don't really care how good you are as a marriage speaker. I need men and women standing on our stage representing our ministry who are living what they're teaching. The only thing that really matters to me is integrity. Oh my gosh. Our world lives with talent and skill, and we elevate it. And we don't elevate men and women of integrity. It's totally backwards. We put posters on our walls of pro athletes who can run and jump, and their lives are travesties. And we don't put posters on our walls of men and women whose word is their bond. If you have integrity, it's all that matters. And if you don't have integrity, it's all that matters. And when we joined that speaker team back there were 8 other couples speaking all around the world for Family Life. Now there's like 70. It's really grown. And let me tell you something. Over the last almost 30 years of speaking for them, they have let 4 or 5 couples go because of a lack of integrity. They weren't clean. And that eventually came out, and they said, you were maybe the most skilled speaker on the team, but no thank you. You cannot represent Jesus in this ministry unless you have real integrity. Does it matter? Oh, yeah. At the end of the day, honestly, it's all that matters. I do funerals. Not always the most fun part of my job, but sometimes they're a really fun job because At a funeral, guess what people talk about? One thing, character. They don't talk about money. They don't talk about titles. They don't talk about skills and talents. They talk about character, integrity. That's what matters. So I got 4 minutes and 38 seconds. And here's what I'm going to do real quick. I'm going to tell you how. How do you become a man or woman that is the guy or the gal that people want to follow? How do you build integrity in your life? I'll give you 3 A words. It's this simple. Abide. First one's abide. What does abide mean? Abide means you abide with Christ. In other words, integrity, character, is a fruit that comes out of a walk with Jesus. It isn't something you and I can manufacture. Oh, I'm going to become a man of integrity today. I just made a decision at church, and I haven't been, but now I'm going to be. Guess what? Good luck. It's not going to last. You can't do it. You don't have the power to keep your word every time, to keep your promise every time. But guess who does? Jesus. And it's interesting, if you go back to the Word of God and find Jesus talking to his disciples, here's what he said. He said, abide in me and I in you. And by the way, he's not just talking to the 12, he's talking to all of us. Anybody who calls themselves a disciple of Christ, he's saying, abide in me and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself unless it abides in me, so neither can you unless you abide in me. You can put a character in there, integrity. You can't do this unless you abide in me. He says, I am the vine, you are the branches. He who abides in me and I in him, he bears much fruit, for apart from me, you can do nothing. Apart from him, you can do nothing. It's like if that branch ever gets apart from the vine, there's no fruit. But if you stay connected, stay close to Jesus, and I mean, that isn't showing up at church once a week. That's like daily saying, I'm going to work out. I've said this many times. We work out physically. It's a workout spiritually. It's like, I'm going to spend time abiding, getting close, getting connected to Jesus. All I'm going to talk about to your high school kids tonight is what's that look like? How do you get close to him? Because when you get close to him, his love no longer is out there. It's now in you through the Holy Spirit of God. That's why Jesus went away and said, it's going to be better for you that I go away. Why? They're like, no, it's better that you're here. No. I can give you me in you if I leave through my Spirit. So we get his Spirit that does what? It produces integrity. It produces character. We can't do that. He says you can't even do anything without me. But with me, oh my gosh. And so that's a daily abiding. Here's the worst thing about people who go to church. They only abide one hour a week. For some of you, this is your only time. That can never work. It will never give you the power you need to be. And then you're frustrated, like, why can't I live the life I want to live? Because you're not abiding. You abide, his life flows through you. And again, I'm not saying it's simple, but man, there's a power there when you're plugged in. You're plugged in. You're not unplugging. You're staying plugged in. And there's power that flows from him through you. You know, it's interesting. Tomorrow morning at about 4:45, my phone right beside my bed will go bzz, 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 which means I got a text, and I know what the text will be. It happens every day from Monday to Friday for the last several weeks because I'm in a group text with a bunch of quarterbacks that played here at the Lions that I've been their mentor for years, and now they're in different places around the league. And we're doing a study together called Hebrews 2018. That's the name of our group text. It's from an app called He Reads Truth. There's also a woman's version, She Reads Truth. There's all these different devotional plans. So one of these quarterbacks sent a text to us months ago and said, hey, you guys want to do Hebrews 2018? It's a 28-day study. Let's go. So we all said, we're in. So why do I get a text tomorrow at 4:45? Because Drew Stanton, who's the quarterback with the Browns, who's playing football right now, will get up tomorrow at about 4 a.m. and do his study and send the first group text. It starts every day at about 5 a.m. And then somebody else will send one, then I'll send one because it makes me get up out of bed. I don't want to, but I don't want to look bad with these guys. So I'll get in and I'll open the book of Hebrews and go through the study and I'll make some comments, what God said to me, and I'll send it. What's going on? Iron sharpening iron. We are abiding together in Christ. And guess what? It causes growth. Let me ask you, you doing that? You can. Like, I don't know those guys. You know somebody? Set it up. Make it happen. I didn't make this happen. Drew did. He's the one that said, you guys want to do it? We're in. Why? Because we know as men that want to be men of integrity and character, we need to abide daily, actually all day daily. So the first one is abide. Do it. Jump in. I mean, it isn't just reading the Bible or praying. It's all kinds of different disciplines. If you drove by beside me almost any time, if you see me driving, hopefully not whipping in front and cutting people off, if you drive by me, you will probably look over and laugh. Because I'm probably singing at the top of my lungs, not Michael Jackson. Singing the song we're going to close the day with. I sang all week the song we started today with. Glorious Day. I mean, I'm singing at the top of my lungs. People drive by me, like, look at that dude. What am I doing? I'm abiding. called vertical worship. And it changes your heart as you do that, not just once on Sunday, but all during the week. So here's the other 2 A's real quick. So first is abide. Second is apologize. If you've blown it, if you haven't kept your word, if you showed up, whatever, it's like I said I'd do this and I failed to do that, go to that person, go to that group of people and apologize. I one time had to stand up in front of the Adams high school football team as a coach and apologize for something I did on a playoff game several years ago. I got a personal foul. A coach got a personal foul because this ref made the worst call you've ever seen in your life in a playoff game, and I said something about it, and he was standing right in front of me, and he said, well, that's the way it is, and I said, well, that's crap. Foop. I said, you're throwing a flag because I said crap? Foop. That's a 15-yard penalty. My head coach comes running down. What did you say? Did you curse? I go, no, I said crap, but to him, that's a curse word, and it's a 15-yard penalty, and he looked at me and he said, you say another word, you will be suspended next week in round 2 of the playoffs. Well, you know what we as coaches had told our players the whole season? You ever get a personal foul, you're in big trouble. Their coach just got one. So what do I do? As a man of character, I stand up on Saturday morning in our film session and say, guys, I was wrong. I lost my cool. I should have never said a word, and I was a bad model for what I tell you to do. I didn't do. I apologize, and it's never going to happen again. It never did. But you've got to come back and do the right thing and apologize. And the third one is accountability. You got to have somebody hold you accountable. You need other interns in your life. You need other men and women in your life. You need other brothers or sisters that walk beside you. And sometimes they're going to say a hard thing to you. They're going to say, man, you say you're a man of integrity, but you're not, dude. Here's why. And you're like, oh my gosh, thank you. I needed to hear that. I want to be that man. I want to be that woman. So thank you for that. You got to have that. And so as we close today, I'm going to show you a video of a man of integrity that is known around this area. His name is Lauren Siffering. He's later in his years. I met him the first week I was in Detroit. I met him in a health club, and he was a young doctor at the time, and now he's an old mentor. Seriously, his wife just died, and he's a man that's had an incredible impact in this area, just mentoring men. That's what he feels God has called him to do, just mentor men. And you're going to hear 3 guys talk about his role in his life. I'll tell you, you're going to watch a story of a man of integrity who's lived it for many generations now. It's a beautiful story. In fact, what he reads at the beginning, he wrote. Several people say, where did he get that? He wrote this. Not for us. He'd written it down and just read it. It's all about integrity. And by the way, as we watch this, we're going to take our offering. Now think about this. We're taking the offering as we watch a man talk about integrity. Now, think about what that means. If we say Jesus is the most important thing in our life and we never back it up financially, what are we saying? And again, I am not trying to twist anybody's arm. I look in the mirror and ask myself the same question. If he's number one, it better show up in my calendar, my wallet especially. And so here's the cool thing about the offering. So many people don't put anything in that pouch. You know why? They've already decided to give online. You can go to our app and say, this is something that's important to me. It's coming out of my checking account every month, whether I'm even there or not. And so I just challenge you to think, okay, what would it look like if I say this? What would it look like to live this in all areas and let God speak to you through Lauren's story?
Guard your lips. As you walk through your days, you have choices galore when you're with people who have needs. To give what you have to fill in their gaps, they will often remember your deeds. Sometimes it would be that the things that you give are not goods, but a promise you make. This 2-part gift will be measured for sure. Is your follow-through truth or fake? When you've given your word, it may cause you some hurt to deliver the goods like you spoke. It will measure you, man, so be careful you speak. Your word is your bond. That's no joke. The best gift you can give to a wife or son or daughter is a promise that's kept like it's spoken. A wall is produced that is hard to remove whenever a promise is broken. To be quick to hear and slow to speak will determine the words that come out. Once spoken, the fruit that they bear will be seen to produce life, love, and light, but not doubt. I was raised in a Christian home, my father being a pastor. And so from age 12, I taught Sunday school, and I felt that I knew how to teach any of the pamphlets that go along with Sunday school. But it wasn't until I was 36 that I came to know to have a relationship with Jesus. And so that was the first thing that I believe was truly authentic, when I realized that there was a relationship available for me.
When I was 21, I was getting ready to go to the Colorado Outward Bound School, and it required a physical exam, so I went to see Lauren Siffring, my doctor, and he said, well, where are you going? I'm going to Colorado. He said, well, that's where I'm from. And so we kind of hit it off, and we, had a conversation going. And about 5 or 6 years later, I get a letter from him at my place of work, and he's telling all of his patients that he's retiring, so to speak, from medicine and going full-time into ministry. Well, this was a shock. This was unheard of. Nobody does that. Nobody gives up a medical career to become a pastor, but he did. And I came to see him, and I said, would you consider mentoring me in medical procedures? Because where I'm going to be, there are no doctors, and there's no access to doctors. And he said, absolutely, just like that. And so I started meeting with him on Monday mornings, 37 years ago.
I think it was about 4 years ago, I started to hear men share a name. And I didn't understand why every once in a while it kept surfacing. And I thought, that's really odd that I would hear this person's name. I wonder who this person is. They were talking so highly of this individual. My prayer partner said to me 2 years ago, I think what I'm going to do is introduce you to a man that I know, and his name is Lauren Siffring. And I said, you have no idea what you just said. I told him this backstory, and we made arrangements, went to his house, and it was this moment of receiving that I don't think I've ever experienced in my life. And I looked at him and said, I think I'm supposed to be here. And he says, I know you are. And we've never not met every week since then. And it's just been an amazing opportunity.
We are often wondering about our own integrity. We're wondering if we really do express what is truly in our heart. I think without the power of the Holy Spirit to give us confidence that whatever we've done in the past that has caused us to be broken, or whatever we might do in the future to cause us to be imperfect, without the power of the Holy Spirit, I don't think we can live a life of integrity.
When I moved back from Arizona, and when I first met Lauren and we started meeting together, he looked in my eyes, and it was almost like he saw a timeline in the future, and he started to work on that timeline. And I only say that because he looked in my eyes and he says that you've got quite a bit of healing ahead of you, and your eyes aren't quite clear. And as the years passed, I remember the day he said, your eyes are so clear.
It's amazing.
So he saw that,
Yep.
and he worked towards that. How do you know that about a person?
We have been given life by so many, and that we have an opportunity to offer that to anybody that is willing to be with us, eye to eye, heart to heart, living in the moment, whatever it is, whether it's a difficult thing or a celebratory thing or something that is tragic. We can be together. And so I believe that we're always influencing anybody that's near us. And knowing that we are an influencer should guard what we say and what we do and the way that we act.
I know that often when I'm with Lauren, he says all things with gratefulness. He's taught me that. Even if it's a hardship, be grateful for it. It's going to create something in your life that makes you better and gives you something that you can give to others, which what's happening, their life is appreciating. It's ascending.
I remember about a month after his wife died, sitting in his office. Sometimes the phone would ring, sometimes he answers it. He chose to answer it this time, and it was the nurse who took care of Rhea in her last hours. And he just wanted to know, how you getting along? How's everything going? And then he said this, Lauren, if you ask me to get in my car and come, I will come right now. I was floored. Wow. What could have happened in 3 days that a complete stranger would say such words? And then I just remember the Father's love. It's so powerful, and that's what he has.
Yeah.
I even think after Rhea left us and to be with the Lord, I asked him, how are you doing, Lauren? How are you doing? He says, that I'm fine. It was my privilege to take care of Rhea. Yeah. I learned more in 18 months of watching, you know, I mean, a man's love for his wife. Yeah. And that's integrity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that story. If you know Lauren, I've gotten the opportunity to actually meet with him a few times. Everything those guys are saying about him is true. He's such a man of character, such a man of integrity. But what makes him so powerful as a leader is actually his pursuit for Jesus, his love for the Lord, his love for connecting people to the love of God. And so we wanted to end today with a song that we like here called Build My Life, because we feel like that example was set for us in a guy like Lauren, who's saying he's going to build his life on the teachings of Jesus. So we'd love for you to stand and join and sing with us on this. Worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise we could ever bring, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you, Jesus the name, Jesus the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. We live for you. You know it, sing it out. And holy, there is no one like you. There is none besides you. Open up my eyes in wonder. Show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. And I will put my trust in you alone. And I will not be. Come on, let's get after it. And I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation. I will put my trust in you alone. And I will not be shaken. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none besides you. Open up my eyes in wonder. Show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none besides you. Open up my eyes, see it out, and show me, fill me, and lead me in your love to those around me.
You know, I think it's a perfect song to end the series, because whether you know it or not, you just abided with Christ. That was a way to abide. Singing vertically. Sort of the words we just sang are really a prayer. It's almost a great way to think about how to live this week. Show me who you are. God, would you show me who you are? Because when you and I see who he is, we are filled with his heart. And then we ask him to lead us to those that he wants us to minister to. That's living a life in integrity. And so we get to do church, and now we get to go be the church every day. The other 167 hours are just as important as this 1 hour this next week. And think about this before you walk out, just a thought to place in your mind. While we've been here at church this morning, there's been almost 300 to 400 people, Kensington people, running in the Detroit Marathon. Some of them are still running. I was down there with Hope Water. That's what they've raised money for. I was down there at 5:45 this morning and prayed for them and sent them out. And think about this. They ran, not for themselves. They ran to put clean water in Africa in the Pokot tribe. And we've been doing this, I think, 7 years now. And think about what you are a part of, and you may not even realize it if you ran or gave or even prayed for them. In the last 7 years, Kensington, has given $3.2 million to put water in Africa. In that time, we have put 130 wells in Africa, which has given water to 250,000+ people. That literally has saved lives. And it's all through a thing called a marathon or a half marathon or a bike race or even a 5K or whatever. And here's what I think about that. I thought, okay, a church can talk about loving people, or a church can talk and do it. And that's just one way that you and I together have said, we're not just going to say we're going to care for those that need help. We're going to show up and do it. And one way we did it today, you weren't even there. You're just here and you're a part of it. So God bless you. Way to go. You're being the church. And that's just one segment of all that Kensington and God's doing in us and through us. And so here's my last thing. If you need to pray with somebody, man, you're carrying something and you want to carry it home, come on up here and let it go. Pray with one of our prayer warriors and take that to God and then walk out of here free. We'll see you back here next Sunday. We start a new series, 5 Surprising Things God Loves. One of the surprising things is God loves laughter. And so we're going to laugh a little bit next weekend and find out what joy really looks like from the heart of God. Bring somebody with you. We'll see you next week, all right? God bless. See you. Bye-bye.